Good evening, folks. You're very welcome along to another edition of the Irish Rally Podcast, coming to you live this evening from my shed, but also on Facebook and on YouTube. We have left this show a complete blank canvas tonight. There is not much structure on it, I'll be honest. We will be going down through the class winners from the Ulster Rally and the Jim Walsh Cork Forestry, but it's pretty much a blank canvas, an opportunity for anyone to send in some comments underneath to ask our esteemed guests, Mr. Anthony Nestor and Terry Hegarty, who will be along with us in just a couple of moments' time. As you said, right under Facebook, right under YouTube, we have one or two emails coming in earlier as well. We're here in association with PFT Travel, Tech and Tools, Rally Connection, SVS Productions, Lions of Limerick, and Higher and we thank them for their kind support throughout the campaign. So, as we said, we're joined by Anthony Nestor and Terry Hegarty. Evening, folks. How are we?
Hi, Kevin.
Hello, everybody. How are we?
Terry, you're very welcome back. You left, honestly now, and I'm not blowing smoke, you left a very, very good impression after you were on here the last time. You shied away from nothing. All the stuff that was thrown in front of you, good, bad, and indifferent. You had the answer for it on air, but if you didn't, you went and found it out, and you went about replying to people. And I think about 3 or 4 hours after the show, you were still replying to people. So I don't know what you thought of it, but I thought it was an outstanding show. I think a lot of people learned from it. I certainly did anyway. And what was the feedback like from yourself afterwards?
Or for yourself? Feedback was, well, the feedback I got going to events was brilliant. The number of people that walked up to me and said, "I seen you on the podcast." And, you know, I found out more in the podcast in 2 hours than I did in the last 2 years of tracking. So wee comments like that were worrying on one part and also heartening on the other, because if we can do something to help with the understanding of it all, if coming on something like this helps, I'll do it. There's no problem. The number of people that stop with me at the end of the event, you know, in Park Fermy when we're getting the trackers back in again, or even at Scrutiny when we're handing them out, and stop and they take you to the one side and they say, "Look, there's a wee thing I don't quite understand. Can you answer a few questions?" And I'll say, "Of course, no problem at all." You take the time when you have it, or if you can, to go through it, because anything that's new is going to be baffling to people, you know, and especially something that seems complicated. Just because it seems complicated, sometimes you can overthink it and make more of it. And we're trying to find ways as much as possible. Anthony knows from being in the control room with me that, you know, there is a lot of simple things that are overthought and only confuse matters even further. So, no, it's getting there. And I'm really pleased to see that there's been such good feedback from it all. And there's lots of room for improvement too. And we're always working on that. You know, we're open to constructive criticism. Criticism for no use or no purpose is not welcome in any game. But constructive criticism, the ideas that are coming from competitors are brilliant. These are the guys out there that are using the equipment, that are seeing the incidents as they happen, and they're bringing their feedback to us, and it's priceless. It really is the future of safety in the sport, where competitors and organizers come together and they both pitch in and they both give their views on it to make it better. So, no, I was really pleased at the feedback. You know, if nothing else, I was feared they were going to say, "You three argued over 4 buttons for 2 hours." You know, that kind of carry on. But no, it was all good fun. And as I say, a lot of people got the message and got a lot of better understanding from the last explanations. No, it's all good. There is some people I didn't get back to. I can't claim that I got back to everybody, because I didn't. There was just so many different people got messaged in. Some emailed, some text me, some approached me at events, and I didn't get around to all of them. And I'm sorry, but I am still looking into a lot of them. Everything's stored on the database. We can still go back, but things have been very busy this last while, and especially now that we've got 1 or 2 events nearly every weekend in August and September is not helping. But we're trying. We are trying to get to the bottom of all the little misunderstandings. Most of them have to do with red flags, and it's not understanding why a stage might have to have been cancelled. When you're in the rally car, you're blind to what's going on in front of you and behind you unless you come across it. So you may not always know what the control room sees and what's going on around the event. And it's like we were at an event there recently where a stage had to be cancelled because there was a lot of oil dumped on the stage. Now, it's one of those things. It's a safety hazard. It couldn't be cleaned up in time. It was just so large a thing to deal with, shall we say, and so time consuming that there was no point in even, you know, trying to get it gathered up in the short time that they had. So we had to shorten the stage. Then it was a matter of trying to get competitors to the new start line and keep the rally running to the best of our ability. So, you know, wee things like that happen. You know, accidents happen, things happen. You do your best with what you have and what you know at the given time. And that's what this sport is all about. Everybody doing their best. So, no, really pleased. I'm really pleased. How did you find it? What was the feedback like to, say, for example, Anthony, you first, did you see much feedback from the last show?
Can't remember.
No, don't start your answer with you can't remember.
No, I was listening to you saying, fuck me, he'd make a great politician. I'm trying to think. There wasn't the last show. The last show was Cork. I'm trying to think when. There's a couple of shows back because I
was
wasn't
going
on
back.
for a
It's
wee
probably sure it must be April. It's is it? Was it March or April? Yeah. It is. It's going back a while.
No, I remember that. To be fair, there was people, you know, had come up. Look, if only one person got something out of it, it was a good show.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, if you talk to any of the guys in the tracker rooms, the Micheál Bolans, the Greg McCarthy's, all these guys, there's more buy-in from the competitors. They seem to have a better understanding. They seem to be hitting the OK button a little bit better, and you'll probably see, you'll be able to clarify this, Terry. They seem to be more engaged with the equipment than they were. But then again, it's, you know, as I said, it's like everything. It's not perfect, but I think it's a damn sight better than it was. I think some of the issues recently, actually, there was just some anomalies with equipment, the equipment itself. There was a few gremlins in it, like, but yeah, I suppose, as I said, one of the things I said below, but I don't think it necessarily conforms with the best advice that's out there, but it was just the way I was doing it, was that rather than hitting the whole console of buttons, if you were unsure, get out, go old school, bring your OK board, your mobile phone, and take off, and just stop the car behind you like you would ever pre-tracking. Then it buys you 30 seconds to assess the situation, and then sure, if you need to set the tracker off in that car, so be it, like on the car that you just stopped. But yeah, I just thought, no, yeah, the show was good in general. To be fair, there was nothing negative that came back out of it. We probably went on a bit long talking about it, but sure, look, what harm was that either? Like,
that can happen. That can happen. I have a huge respect for, you know, I haven't spent too much time in a rally car, but I am going to be spending a little bit of time Sunday because I'm just jumping in with Mick Lonergan from my troubles on Sunday below in Waterford for the sprint down there, right? So we were doing a bit of sizing up the other day, and obviously with a mallet like this and a Ford like a 43-inch plasma, we were looking for an XL helmet, which I'm happy to confirm we got sorted. But I'm going off on a tangent. Getting in and out of the car, lads, it's no joke, right? Now, I'm not the most mobile of characters, but you're talking about 30 seconds there. I have a newfound appreciation for the length of time that someone has after being tossed around in a car to try to get in and out and do all those things. I knew it was probably going to be a big ask, right? But that was me getting in and out of a static car. It's a serious ask, lads. And you'd wonder, I suppose, at times about that interval. And it's something that's come up quite a lot. I know there were minute intervals as per the regulations on Friday and Saturday or whatever. And obviously a minute probably Sunday as well. But it's something that it was an eye-opener for me, guys. And I'm not in any way informed the way you are, but I was like, Jesus Christ, that's a serious ask to do that. Like, is that something you go along with, like, or is it good to hear from someone so raw that hasn't a fucking clue? Like, basically, does that give you a different perspective?
In a perfect world, I know way back in the old IRCA, the Irish Rally Competitors Association, because we tried hard for the minute interval back then. But you see, the way it's working here in Ireland and the financial costs and the amount of money you need to get in to run the damn thing. Well, if you can run 100 cars at 30-second intervals, well, the mathematics will tell you can only run 50 at 1 minute intervals. But it just doesn't seem to be financially viable if you were to go down that road. Of course, it would be a far better job, absolutely. Northern Ireland is 1 minute intervals, but obviously the field is smaller there. Yeah, I love minute intervals. I've just got used to it. That being said, there's a great drug on the market there, and it's free for getting you out of a car in a hurry. Adrenaline. And I'll tell you one thing: when she's upside down and someone tells you there's smoke or something, before you know it, you're out. And I've arthritis and 2 hips, and I guarantee you the normal get out. You'll be out like a shot. You'll get out quick enough, to be fair. You'll normally be out in less than 10 seconds. Like, where the issue is, is if you're being caught by another car, then you have a problem.
Another question. Why 30 or 60? And it's a very novice question, and sometimes I think these are simple enough ones, and they might have an advantage, right? Why is 45 never a thing? Does it have to be to the minute and to the half minute?
No idea. Can't answer the question. Should it make no difference? Like, because at the end of the day, you get a start time and you get a finish time. Make no difference.
One is subtracted from the other.
I've never actually heard 45 seconds suggested.
Yeah, even in the it's actually one of the things I love.
multi-venue permits, racetracks. That's happened before, but it depends on when you're doing 2 laps. You know, there will be an interval picked because of the 2 laps. You know, sometimes it's different. It's not done very often. They try to keep it to the 30 or the 60. So there's been some what do you call them? Michael and Alan Haid could maybe tell me what they do for the Rally Sport Association. Sometimes it's much quicker. It could be 10 or 15 seconds between each car. But no, it's in normal stage rallying, it's either been 30 or 60. And you even see in the tracking room on a forestry event, like in Cork at the weekend, where all gravel events are 60-second intervals, north and south. And it makes such a difference. But it's not viable at the minute with you know, there's 2 different trains of thought there. One is that 30 seconds is too little because it means there's very little time to get safely back to the next car to warn them. The other train of thought is if something happens to you, thank God that the help is only 30 seconds away. So there's 2 very distinct, very opposing philosophies there, and some are very heavily in the belief that help's only 30 seconds away. You know, we've seen it on the onboards when there's been accidents. And within that 30 seconds, you've got the next car stops with them and has been able to raise the alarm. This is all before tracking. This is all before technology has come into it. I remember, well, I probably shouldn't mention names, but there's probably, you know, there's a good few examples I could give where only for the help was only 30 seconds away. You know, so there's very strong arguments both for and against.
Okay, I'll get to a few different comments that are coming in. So Declan Casey, a regular listener to the show, and very good information at all times to us as well. 3 rounds of the Forest Championship in 5 weeks, a big ask for competitors. It's no wonder Lakeland is looking for more entries. Any thoughts, lads?
A lot of people were not going to enter the Lakeland until Cork was over anyway. That was never going to happen. And I'm sorry for saying that. Enniskillen deserve a full entry. There's no 2 ways about it. It's a fantastic event, and I couldn't recommend it more for people. Anybody that's even half on the fence about putting in an entry, get it in now. It is an event you don't miss. It really is. It's one of the classics. I remember televising it for the Northern Ireland Championship many years. You know, the footage we could gather up from that event, it was the stages are fantastic. You know, look back at any of our coverage, look back at any of the coverage on the Limit Sports, RPM. It doesn't matter what you watch. It's the stages are brilliant. Anthony can testify better than I can. You know, the event is just one of the classics you don't miss. It's as good as Cork there at the weekend, and then you've got the Bushwhacker 2 weeks later. But Declan makes a very good point. And that's why there's so many rows with dates, meetings, and everything every year, because everybody's trying to get squeezed in where they can. And everybody has their traditional dates. Everybody has the dates they want, or, you know, whatever. And clashing with so many clubs and so many events is always going to be a thing. Even with a 24-month calendar, it's still an issue. So we can only do our best to reach out to each club and try and give and take and look at the calendar, see where the gaps are. Look where maybe one could move this way and another could move that way, and try and accommodate each other. But there are other things that also have to be considered. Some clubs have councils involved, sponsors involved, you know, venues only available on certain dates, forests only available on certain dates. There's birds and wildlife outfits to be considered. There's so many things to be navigated, and my hat's off to every COC in the country that has to navigate that some way, somehow. But no, I know they're working on it because everybody's talking about it at the minute. Dates is an issue. And Declan makes a valid point, and it has to be said. It's something that I hope we can work better on, everybody together, to try and both north, south, and forest versus tar and things like that there, to try and make it fair on everybody. So many events in Cork recently. Look what happened to the Cork 20. And then you've got the Cork Forest event. And now you've got the Lakeland, which is the next round of the Sligo Palace Forest Championship. And Bushwhacker 2 weeks later, Carrick and Sur only a few weeks after that. It's a lot of events on top of each other. And there's periods of the year where forest events can't run at all. and that's to accommodate other people. So it's a problem, but they are working on it. I promise. It's coming up on all the meetings. Anthony can contest to that as well. Everybody's chatting about it, and it's just coming up with a solution. It's never going to be an ideal solution. It's always going to end up being a compromise. Sorry, I cut across you there.
Just one or two things on what you said about the certain areas, obviously, that you can't run, and obviously that's where I presume you're talking about the hen harrier. Just so as people know, the hen harrier is only in certain areas of the country. There are certain forests and certain areas of the country you could run 12 months of the year. It makes no difference. It's all down to your location. That location where the hen harrier's nesting is available from Quilta. It used to be back in 2018 or 19 when I was trying to get the Limerick Forestry off the ground. I had the map, and it was like you got Ballydesmond and Cork or somewhere, if my memory serves me right. You drew a line across kind of the middle of Munster, and from there down was a hen harrier area. Now it moves. It moves from year to year ever so slightly, and they redraw it and rejig that map. But yeah, there's actually a very small proportion of the country, albeit it's the likes of the Cork Forestry or any of the Moon Record, they'd all be affected by it. But some of the other ones wouldn't make any difference. But as regards the calendar being, it's one of the biggest issues with the calendar, and it's just unfortunate. And I suppose there's a bit of brinksmanship involved, and people trying to get ahead of the others. And is that the two jurisdictions don't talk. So there you see then there this weekend where you have the Ulster, a 2-day international, and the Cork Forestry on the same weekend. And the calendar's so crowded. When you look at the high percentage of your entry that comes from Northern Ireland to a southern event, you could do without the calendar being as crowded as it is. There's still too many events. Like, I know people may not agree, but there is, because it's the same people running all the events. So. But yeah, so time will tell. As I said, yeah, just the next 6 or 8 weeks is crowded. I know I'm finished for the year, and I was never so glad to be finished for the year. You go so far in the year and you just get burned out from it.
Yeah.
Is it 11 or 12 done? That's me finished now this year. It's a little bit less than I would normally do. But yeah, I'm all rallied out now.
Right, yeah, that's interesting, because like I was just going to say that it is, a little bit less than what you usually would do. Like, it's supposedly a young man's game, but yet you went and did the Ulster. I went down to Cork then on Sunday. That was a big ask, and would that be a factor maybe in the way you're feeling about it right now?
I was tired. You see, the Ulster, whereas I like the Ulster, and I would be one of the first to praise it every year. Mm-hmm. But that being said, if every event in Ireland was like the Ulster, I'd take up golf, because you couldn't stick it. You couldn't stick I couldn't, not at my age, I couldn't stick every event being like that. And what I mean by that is that I suppose it's a positive in one way, to go back to what you're saying about it being a young man's game. So I would have worked a half day on Thursday. The other comment coming in, Damien O'Donovan. Yeah, don't worry, Damien. I'll mention it. Someone just sent me a comment about the podcast. I would have worked, say, a half day on Thursday. So up the road then from Limerick, met above at about 3 or 3:30. Started wrecking at 4 o'clock. And if this was your normal work day, you'd be heading home in an hour or two. But no, we wrecked till 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock or something that night. 10 o'clock before we were home. So that was a long, long day. Then you're up again. The fun. I was a bit out of sorts. I had a tummy bug at the time, so I went to bed early and up again early the following morning. And you're wrecking again then from 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning until 1 o'clock. And first car of the way in the rally at 3 o'clock. So the rest period was out the window. So you literally went from work to recce to rally. So yeah, I wouldn't mind have been 20 years younger now the weekend, because come Saturday. So I was in service then Saturday, and I was just trying to get prepared for the rally on Sunday, and you're just trying to organise as best you can, because you wouldn't have much time during the week for doing stuff like that. But yeah, it was intense enough. As I said, I enjoy it. I enjoy it. The facility they have up there in Modern Tires is fantastic. The people of the club is nice. It's grand. It's a very intense bloody rally. But if you look at all the rallies in the Derby Championship, they're all so different. From the stone walls and the muck and the rain of Galway, say, at the start of the year, and then all the different characteristics of the different events, mountain events in Killarney, and Donegal obviously has a character all of its own. And yeah, Ulster just one of those different style events again. And as I said, with that sort of a schedule, and you get 2 runs on the recce, and there's no point doing a third, you wouldn't have time anyway. So, no odds. Like, the recce, the mileage was slightly longer than it was even last year. The time scale to recce was the same, but the mileage was longer. It's and I know it is all stupid stuff, like, but you couldn't stop to have a lunch. I know I'm fucking nitpicking now, like, but
not really, because this year was a team event compared to the past.
Yeah, you don't have time for lunch. Whereas if you were in Donegal, sure, you'll go into the local shop or the local whatever, and you'll sit down and you'll leave your money in the community. Whereas in the Ulster, man, you stop an hour for lunch and you'll not get finished in time. Like, you're flat out all the time. Like, you bring a few bars and a couple of bottles of water or energy drinks or Lucasade or whatever your tipple is, and you rock on. But I was tired tonight. I think once the adrenaline, the whole buzz wears off, because literally I came out of one rally car and hopped straight into a different model and rocked on again in the forest, obviously. And that was a nice day out as well in Cork, actually. Actually, I uncovered something down there. But sure, we can move on to that in a while when we're finished talking about it.
Should don't highlight the present.
Yeah, it was something, and I don't want to mention the guy's name because I don't overly know him. He's one of a pair of brothers at rallies. We'll leave it at that, right? And he made a very good remark, and it just got me thinking, you know something, this man is dead right. So we started Cork, right? It was it was 8 stages, which, normal enough, two twice in the morning, 2 twice in the afternoon. And we started like at 9 o'clock. But I noticed we were still in the rally cars at 5. I said, how in the freaking God's name is that possible? What the hell has happened? The day just seemed to be, so come 4 o'clock, like, you're starting to wilt a bit, like, the day is long, you're listening to the car pounding away all day, like. But he made a very valid remark. He said, Jesus, I wish this thing didn't, there was 2 stages left at this stage, I think, was it 7 o'clock before I even got out of that place in Mallow? And I couldn't figure out. And he said, Jesus, we have a 5-hour drive home, like, or 4-hour drive home. But it got me thinking, so I went back, and with the help of a colleague, we've done a bit of digging to find out Motorsport Ireland have changed all the bloody road times. So originally, if you did a 2-kilometre road section, which there wasn't any this weekend, right? If you did a 2-kilometre road section, you had 6 minutes. That was there to allow the junior lads, the J1000s, to swap over. What you need to swap over? 2 or 3 minutes? 3 minutes tops? Because they're not a difficult car to get in and out of compared to some of the moderns. But Motorsport Ireland, now in their infinite wisdom, have doubled that to 12 minutes. Every control. So I just looked at, say, going out to the first stage. So going out to the first stage in Cork was 9.6 kilometres. In the old days, last year, that's a 15-minute road section. Now, to be fair, because all those things are on the average at 30 kilometres an hour, something very low, and you were in a rally car, you were out there in loads of time, like. And they now have that changed from 15 minutes to 21. Now, I'm only suspecting that they've done it to allow the J1000 to swap over. I could be wrong. But it's a daft idea. Like, I'm sure some of those J1000 guys, how many is in a rally? 10 of them?
No, it's growing. The numbers are growing. It's getting
20?
so popular.
How many was there the weekend?
19.
In Cork Forestry?
Mm-hmm.
Right. How many of those have IRDS?
I don't know the technics of that now, to be fair.
Right. Well, so in other words, what I'm saying
the
is
co-driver has to have that, don't they?
No. Well, I don't know which you're calling the driver, the rally driver, because they're both driving.
Yeah.
Some of the drivers, let's call them the junior drivers, are old enough to have their own insurance anyway, so some of them do. But why would you lint in it and upset the whole field for that? Like, If it's going to take them 8 or 9 minutes to swap over, there's a problem, like, because I'd hate to have the car in difficulty if it's going to take that long to get in and out of the damn thing.
I can remember the discussion. I can't remember the reason, and maybe somebody can message
No, I
me
might
and
be
remind
wrong.
me.
This may
But
not be the reason why they did
there
it.
was a reason for it. To be fair, there was a lot of things discussed, including the interval between the Junior 1000s and the two-wheel drive, and it had to be increased. And I just, forgive me, I can't remember the reason, but I remember coming up in meetings in the past, and it had to be extended, but I can't remember the reason. And if
it can't have been that
any of the
important
guys can message me and remind me, I can say, or hopefully say what the reason is. But there was, I remember it being discussed, but I can't remember what the reason was. But there was a reason. There was a good reason behind it.
Why did and is it for the J1000s is done? Is it?
It was the J1000. You see, introducing those cars at the front of the field. Obviously, anybody that's been at the front of the field before, your car 1 to your car 30, for example, is used to being out front, and is not used to being held up, and is not used to having to wait on somebody else. And it's the same as running the historics at the front of the field at the Cork 20. You get a lot of people complaining about stage 1. Well, there was a couple of stages that were held up and cancelled because of a car that was ahead of them. And these are guys that normally don't have to wait and normally don't get interrupted, because it's either one of them that's interrupted the stage or blocked it, or somebody behind them. And as you said yourself, Anthony, there's no point in raising that issue when it's, the people down the field that normally have to suffer these issues. But it's the same with the juniors. The juniors, having them out at the front of the field has been fantastic for the sport. To get 19 entries in Cork this year, and that's going to increase by another 7 to 10 cars next year. To have
that's all great, but that shouldn't affect timing. Timing is timing. So where they originally, so if it's a 5 kilometer road section, there was a 9-minute gap to do it. If they wanted more time, give them another minute. It doesn't take only 2 or 3 minutes to get sorted, but to go from 9 to 15, that seems absolutely. And what it does, it for everyone else in the rally, then, right? So you have 80 cars, so everyone else there is stuck out around the roads till 5 o'clock because this thing is stretched out all day. It was the only negative I saw again the Cork Rally. Now, to be fair, everything else was just perfect, but this day was dragged out to death. But as I said, I'd love to hear the explanation, because it never needed to be changed till now. I never heard anybody have anything wrong. I've not seen a junior arrive or heard of a junior arrive to the start line not ready to rally, because it's all so relaxed. The road time is relaxed even in the old calculation, which was like the distance you traveled multiplied by 1.2 plus 3 minutes. The plus 3 was to do your helmets, your belts, and your bits and pieces. Like, if they're telling me it's going to take 6 minutes longer to get a junior, well, now, lads, there's something wrong somewhere. So they're now in the line minutes. So I don't know. As I said, if there's an explanation, I'd love to hear it.
I want to get to a couple of the comments here. So, Paul McMahon has asked why can't Forestry rallies be dated over the year 4 gravel events in 5 weeks and very little during the summer. That's kind of been addressed with the Hen Harrier season. Paul Casey's in touch. He said Cork last weekend was probably the most compact forestry event in years. Imagine if you had a rally with big road mileage, which often still happens in forestries, you'd still be above in the Valley Howers, Anthony. That comes in from Paul.
He's right.
Casey.
Actually, it's a very good point. He's dead right. If there was long, because the longest road section last week was less than there was one about 16 kilometers, all right. But like, as a rule, there were only 8-9 kilometers over back sort of a thing. But he's right, Jeff. That went into 10 or 15 kilometers, we'd still be up there. It's just not practical. That sort of them calculations, whoever brought them in, are not practical long term.
Evan McAvoy says juniors on tar are done over an hour after the big boys finish, so it's no harm it's the other way around on gravel. Kevin Duggan asked, is that to do with the end of stage interview and then the changeover? May well be a factor, in fairness. It's worth pointing out. Conor Dunlop, similar issue with how the Ulster ran long road sections, minute intervals, and international time in 6 stages Saturday, and it was a full day's rallying. Just a couple of more. Those are all in relation to this course, kind of on the one thing. Definitely long weekend for those of us at both events. That's Kieran Donnelly. Fair play for people in that Venn diagram, be it spectators, be it whoever, and there was a large amount that actually did the Ulster and Cork on Sunday then after that. Tony O'Driscoll, Marshall's a big problem with so many crowded events. Yeah. Warren Bosher then says, Probably also beneficial to timekeepers with minutes or 30 seconds rather than 45, especially inexperienced ones. Experienced ones probably could handle it, no bother. Robert Ewing is watching. Daw Young says even all. And then the last one that I have here at the hand before I go to the ones from earlier is from Craig McPhillips. Was at Rally Sport in Nuts Corner a few weeks back. Number of cars, 6 let out on the track. Once they're nearly finished, next batch is let go around 15 to 20 gap. Works perfect once similar cars are out together. So lots of comments coming in. Please do keep them coming in. Another one, actually, just one more. Martin Brady, what about the competitor query sent by email this week asking, do we want a convoy recce in the forestry? I'm not privy to that, lads. You probably know more about it than I do.
It depends how Martin is thinking, a bit like myself, if you were a conspiracy theorist or not. So there was a survey.
You saying you are then, or?
Huh?
You're saying you are a conspiracy theorist?
Oh, God, yeah. So I saw that arrive out and I just smiled. So, okay, to answer the question, is I tell people what it was for. So there was a query came out today or yesterday, right? Asking people, came from the rallies committee, which would obviously put up a red flag and you'd be just cocking your ear to go, what's this about? So they were asking the question, would you be I don't know, was it interested, or would you, basically, would you like the discussions to start anyway on having a one-run recce run on gravel rallies, like a familiarization run in a convoy?
Yeah.
It's like a leading question because everybody is there and they're sitting around anyway. It's highly likely 99% are going to say yes to it. The conspiracy theory in me, there's a lot of rumor and chat at the minute about a memorial event or some kind of an event. And if you were to bring over top drivers and have that type of an event, they're saying it's easy talking about. They're saying it's the Ravens Rock Rally. I see Thierry and Noville, but like obviously Ravens Rock is not running in 2024. But could he come and do the Carrigan Shore Forest? I think a historian told me today that, did you know where Ravens Rock is? It's inside in the middle of the Anor Forestry Stage. So why wouldn't you call that the Ravens Rock Rally?
Mm-hmm.
So, and those boys are used probably of a recce run. So if you brought it in time, you could have Thierry Neuville not driving a world car, obviously, driving an R5 in an Irish forest.
Okay. Right, so that's...
Don't hearsay, don't gossip, don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they want to do something with the timing, because if they don't, it'll be pitch dark when we start and pitch dark when we finish, and we'll be still going.
Yeah.
That needs to get the dustbin anyway, to be fair.
Well, you've inadvertently brought us into a different point. James Jordan had sent in a comment earlier. You'll have to mention Neville and hopefully more WRC stars coming early next year for Ravens Rock Rally to remember Craig Breen. So firstly, we should say that would be absolutely fantastic. I had never even dreamt of that being the case, that it could be in gravel. When you hear Ravens Rock, you don't think.
Well, that's only me now adding one and one.
I know that.
Yeah.
I know that. But Terry, I'll bring you on this. Wouldn't it be fantastic if we were to see something like that happen next year, irrespective of where it was to be?
Yeah, it would be fantastic. There's no two ways about it. To have Thierry Neuville come over and take part in any event here, there's an awful lot. Like, I read that on the WhatsApp group earlier, as I was so tempted to respond to it, and Anthony beat me to it. When a media outlet like Dirtfish or anybody else releases this information, I don't know if they realize that Motorsport Ireland events are run on a 24-month calendar. They may just assume, as Thierry and Patrick Croak and everybody has maybe just assumed, that Ravens Rock is going to have its annual date every year. Now, maybe that's been looked past. Maybe it's not. As Anthony says, he's determined there's a hidden agenda there, or a conspiracy theory in the middle of it all. But I would be delighted. I would be over the moon. Anything that boosts forestry rallying in this country would just be right up my street.
Well, the theory is it's like that the Dirtfish thing is slightly misleading, because if you look through the article, it doesn't say the Ravens Rock Tarmac Rally. It just says the Ravens
also
Rock
doesn't
Rally.
Say 2024 anywhere.
No. So it could be 2025, which is the Ravens Rock won't be running again until 25, so it could be that. So, But it just seemed
So-
to just get everyone's ire up when they read it, like how the hell they could do a date, but they didn't say anything. So it's just the way it's written. Paper never yet refused ink. So
Is there a thought process and any substance behind rumblings of a WRC event in Ireland, and I think largely in the south of Ireland in 2025, or is that?
I know it's it's an ongoing discussion at the minute, but like it's going to take a lot of willpower, which is the easy bit, and a couple of million. You can have anything you like in this world once you pay for it. It's that simple. No, it's not that simple, of course, but you know what I mean. You need a bank account. You need to be able to fund this thing. Now, you're up at a level where it's government funding. It's not we're in the 6 and 8, 7-figure jobs. Like it's not. You won't be trying to pay an entry fee there to get the thing to wash its face. Like, yeah, you probably see 25, 26 for sure. No harm in trying. Sure, why not? It's good for the country. It's good for a positive image of the sport in general. Yeah, so the best of luck.
Is there not like we've a fair few TDs now, and you brought one of them to Limerick, if memory serves me correct, and a very prominent one in Waterford as well. Like surely there's enough power there or pull to try and get this driven on a little bit. And I'll add that in by saying, I mean, unfortunately, when the tragedies have happened this year, I mean, it's everywhere on RT News, but unfortunately, the sport is not everywhere on RT Sport every other weekend. Which I've had, Terry, you know my feelings on this. I've never really said it on the podcast. I find that hugely disappointing and frustrating. I had something written down a few months ago to publish, and I didn't pull the trigger on it. It was probably largely emotionally fueled. But like, if we're led to believe it's as important as certain people think they are in certain parts of media, and we have political power potentially, well, do we not have a few things maybe then in our favor to try and draw upon, or is that just all nonsense?
Yeah, but you see, it's trying to have a political power, but like you need. It's like, remember, those same politicians were being lobbied by the local GAA. They're being lobbied by the local school teacher. They're being lobbied by the local housing estate. You're in there with probably a couple of hundred other people, and everyone is lobbying. There's probably one kitty of money, and there's a couple of hundred people trying to pull out of it. And it is like everything. You have to be able to, I'm sure, like a government is like a company. You'll have to be able to show that, yes, we want 3 million, but look, we'll bring X amount of, pounds, pence, euros, and cent into the country. And this is how we get back out of it. So it's like everything. It's the business plan you're going to put together to sell it. If you can sell it, they'll invest in it. Like, would you invest in something that wasn't going to make money? No more than any of the rest of us would. And I'm sure the government and all their senior civil servants will be the very same. They won't. So you can lobby all you like, but you need a good business case to get it to work. No, to be fair, they've done it before. All you can do is wish them the best and rock on. And it's lovely to see it, of course.
And a lot of those people.
Okay, but that's. I'd say the years of negotiation goes into that type of thing. I know it's gone on for a while, but at a low key level, probably, I don't know, 25 or 26 or something. I'll be long retired before it appears, anyhow.
Well, I tell you, if you tell Michael Healy-Rae that there is a 7 or 8 digit figure going to be spent down in Kerry, I'd say he'll push that fairly quickly for you, lads. There'll be no hassle.
Yeah.
He makes no bones about it.
He'll
boys, he'll look after it. He'll look after it. So they'd be wise enough if they were considering it to bring something down that direction anyway, I would say. And look,
he amazed me with the knowledge he actually has on motorsport. God, he was a big follower of it in his younger days, and he just seemed to be really keen on it.
Yeah, so look, that's that. I'll park it on it for now, and hopefully we do see something like that happening, be it a Ravens Rock Forestry next year perhaps, or even bigger again, a WRC round the year after would be amazing. Any part of the island of Ireland. I just want to get a couple of more of these comments. Graham Scallon, of course, COC of Wexford Stages Rally, he wants that mentioned. That's coming up in a couple of weeks' time. Emma Cleary, likewise, Wexford Stages Rally ceremony to start. So I want to get this right again. So last year was the 50th running of the rally, but this year is the 50th anniversary of the club. I think that's the story. And there isn't this. Do you know what? This is all about going off on tangents, right? There's talk about a Southeast tarmac round next year, and again, I don't know how much substance is behind this. You guys might have heard something about that. Enlighten us, Terry. Any information heard about this? Perhaps no.
What?
Not strictly Wexford. That there could be a tarmac championship round based out of Southeast next year, potentially.
One thing I will say about Wexford, one thing I will say and can confirm, is that that event has been so successful and has stood on its own 2 feet without being a round of any championship. And when you take events like I would have said West Cork in the past, was an also a very strong, fantastic event that never needed to be a round of any championship. And to have it a part of championships is brilliant. Don't get me wrong. It has brought a lot of new people to the area. It has made people come down and do the event that may not have considered it in the past. But I've never known a West Cork rally. Maybe I could, I'll stand to be corrected here, or a Wexford that has ever suffered massively for entries. There are two fantastic clubmen events that offer great value for money. Everything's very close to the base of the rally itself. You couldn't get more competitor friendly events than Wexford and West Cork, and they never really needed to be a round of anything like a tarmac championship. It's attractive because it's a 2-day event. You take all the great 2-day events we have, Galway, Cork 20. West Cork is a round of the tarmac championship, has been a round of the British Championship, and has got fantastic reviews for it. But it's always been a fantastically strong event, and Wexford's another one. And I know a lot of people would love to see Wexford be a round of the Tarmac Championship. If that's something that Graham and the club decide upon and want to be a part of, and all of the truckload of stuff that comes with that, both good and bad, then that's up to them. That's fantastic, and I hope it goes well for them. But at the same time, Wexford has an awful lot of a following because it's not a round of a championship, that it is a clubman friendly, laid back, enjoyable 2-day event that has been loved the country over. So it doesn't need it, but fair play to the club if that's something they want to push for. It gives them more prestige. It gives them more, things to aim for and to be a part of something like the Tarmac Championship or greater. But it's a fantastic event without it, and that's something I think is not said enough. There is events around the country that are fantastic and don't need to be around these championships. But it's if that's the ambitions of the club, I know of another club that would love to seek for higher status and seek for a higher championship, and the club split down the middle over the whole subject because some want to serve their club members more. There's club members can't get entries. The event is year in, year out, and I don't think I have to go too much further without people starting to guess which event I'm talking about. But if year in, year out, you could run 2 rallies with the entries that this event gets. And some people want to see that event take a step back and be more about being an Irish event only, not striving for the stars, not looking to be ERC or FIA. They would rather see it come back and just be an Irish international or an Irish national or an Irish event only that serves more for local more of a local audience than to push for higher, nearly said higher office, for higher status. So, there's clubs in this country that are big enough. Why can't they run another event that is of higher status and still have their traditional rally? So there's all sorts of different philosophies on that, different approaches to it. And if Wexford, as I say, they're going to have a fantastic event, and anybody that has ever thought about it or wondered about it, get the entry in. You don't know what you're missing. It is one of those events we always looking forward to going to every year. I always worry that it'll clash with something in the north because there's 2 forestry events very close to me that are always close to it on the calendar. But thank goodness it's not clashing with anything this year. So we'll be leaving Enniskillen and we'll be going to Wexford, and then we'll be coming home and we'll be going to Omagh, and there'll be nothing clashing in between. Thank goodness. So, but no, it's like, what would your thoughts be? Put in the comments below, folks. Do you think something like Wexford would be better off striving for a round of a championship? Or is it strong enough to stand on its own 2 feet? I would vote stand on its own 2 feet. I don't think it ever needed to be anything more than what it is. It's well supported every year. Maybe Graham's going to shoot me a message and I say, would you ever shut up? But it's just my own personal humble opinion. I think there's events like that there that are fantastic, just the way they are. But there's no, like, if you're a competitor, if you're any kind of competitor, whether you're in a car or you're competing in business or you're competitive in any way, form, or nature, would you not want more? Would you not strive for more? Anthony ran some fantastic Limerick Forest rallies, everything planned out, wanted to raise the game, had plans to elevate things that he had observed all over the country, competing in different events, and wanted to introduce new things. The conversations that Anthony and I had on the lead up to every Limerick Forest rally of the things we would love to do and the things we could do, and what was in the budget, what wasn't, and how we would raise the budget to afford more things or get more things involved. Everybody wants to strive for more, for better, to evolve, for the thing to get to a position where it is not maybe world leading, but to get one bit better tomorrow than you were yesterday is the phrase. So if they believe that's the future, then I wish them the very best luck. But still a fantastic event all by itself.
Interesting, because when I mentioned that there was a push for a southeast tarmac ground, it wasn't strictly Wexford that was spoken about either. But yeah, there you go. There is that association and talk about Wexford also that possibly could be. And yes, do get your comments. And there's a few more coming in. Danny O'Sullivan wants to know, Anthony, is there a circuit of Munster next year?
Yes.
I was thinking that. Yeah. Declan Casey
again over a keel, as far as I know.
Declan Casey's back in touch. Fair play to Cork 20 and Wexford for acknowledging the growth in the historic rally. And recently, what happens when historic entries exceed current quota is doing the full rally a possibility in the future, where the historic cars merge into the main field. That's a question in there from Declan. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that one, guys, but there is a few more other things I want to get to here. Paul Casey back in touch. Wexford, brilliant rally always. It's basically West Cork in September. Cup and Paul. Richie Long, Carrick Show Rally Sprint in Waterford Airport Business Park, round the Southeast State Championship. That's Sunday, of course. Yeah, we're talking out, Richie. It's not. I don't know if it's a suit or a marquee, but I'm going into it anyway for the crack and see what all the fuss is about. Finally, Shane O'Mahony, the Welshmen always supported West Cork and Wexford, and not just for being close to the ports, but of being clubman rallies. Thoughts on anything there, guys?
The historic category is getting more and more popular all the time. There was an interview done with Andrew Nesbitt there recently at the weekend on the live stream about taking part in a car, and one of the suggestions made to him was, it doesn't have to be a world car, it doesn't have to be an R5. Why don't you get a historic car and come back and enjoy a bit of rallying? And competitors who have, like Ray Breen's out there in historic legacy and enjoying the run. And it's weird to think, that just maybe goes to show my age, where I think of a legacy as a historic car. It's still a Group A car in my head. But, to see the historic cars running at the head of the field in Cork was fantastic. And if the numbers grow, then the sport and the clubs and the events have to evolve with that. It's the same as TV coverage and media coverage of the sport. The numbers will dictate. If you're getting 30, 40, 50 entries, all historic class, the sport will have to evolve and change with that. Be that a different permit, be that to integrate it into the main field. I'll let the people involved in that advise us better. But it's the numbers will dictate. If you've got a clerk of the course anywhere in the country and you're going to offer him 50 or 60 entries and they're all historic cars, I don't know what mountains they wouldn't move to get those 40, 50 or 60 entries. But it's definitely possible, and I don't see why not. There was it Melvin Evans, or no, who was it, put a post up online recently of all the cars that were recently built and produced for a historic class. It's a business. It's something that people are looking for more and more every year, and it's growing, and it can't be ignored. It's part of our future. Look at events like Killarney Historic, the RAC. Look at a lot of the different. Look at the historic. Now I know this is a British Historic Championship, but look at how popular that has become. It's part of the future. It's something that people want. They want to see these cars back out again. They want, that as things that with like we've never seen so many R5s. We've never seen so many homologated Fiestas and the like in the country, and that's one part of the sport. And now we haven't seen as many historics before. So no, it's definitely. I don't like Kevin O'Riordan made a very clever move in putting the historics at the front of the field, and other clubs are going to follow suit. And it's only because that audience, that category, is going to have not more clout, but if you're coming with them amount of entries, clubs are going to want to accommodate you. You know, they're going to want your entry fee. They're going to want you to take part. So I don't see any reason why things like this can't be part of it in the future.
Paul's back in touch. He said, to answer Declan's question, anything is possible, but parameters are set by the rules in the current yearbook. To make changes, the book must evolve to allow. Paul Casey is a man who I asked to come on this podcast a couple of times a few years ago. And you know what? With all these comments coming in, I do wish he'd take us up on that offer at some stage soon, some character. I had a question in about Eddie Doherty, because obviously his modified championship winning car, 2.5 Escort, is up for sale. I was asked to ask him, is he going the R5 route? The answer directly from the horse's mouth, stranger things have happened. So a very wise answer from Mr. Doherty there. Yeah. I wouldn't think his retirement he's going into anyway. But anyway, so look, that I don't know, is Nestor still there? Is he gone?
Yeah, I'm just reading messages that are coming into my phone, yeah.
Oh, good man, yeah, because it knocks off your camera.
Does it? Sorry.
Yeah. We were thinking that. Anyway, Casey says you can't afford me. I probably can't. Anyway, probably can't. So the other question, now I was asked this obviously a few months ago when it's become a thing, and I hate to dig it back up again, but I was asked to bring it to the table, and we haven't had a whole lot of live interactive shows, and apologies for not putting it out on the last one 2 weeks ago. But Galway obviously has got, a few months ago, got a little bit messy or whatever. Is there any clarity on what's happening with Galway? Have we any views on what's happening with Galway? Will Galway happen at all? Any takers?
For once, Anthony didn't launch in there ahead of me.
No, we'll just see. It's the worst thing about we didn't have any agenda planned for tonight. I've no answer on it. I don't think there is an answer that has come out in Galway. I think, and obviously we'll wait till someone puts in a comment, I think they were invited to the dates meeting. That's as much as I can tell you. Look, to be fair, I didn't agree with the way it was handled. I didn't agree with the way they were told they couldn't run an event, because that's not fixing the problem. Banning somebody from holding any event for a whole year exacerbates the problem. It doesn't fix it, because the small group of volunteers, and that's one of the biggest issues they have in Galway, they don't have enough people. They don't have enough of the volunteers on the ground. And by effectively bringing their club events to a standstill from a rallying perspective for 12 months, well, you're not going to stay on the club if there's nothing happening. It's only making the problem worse. And if Galway was to go in the morning, the income that would have been given to Motorsport Ireland or to whatever for the international and for the summer rally, if the rally was to go, well, that money that goes to MI to cover insurance has to be divided up between all the other clubs. So it just makes it more expensive for everybody else. Personally, I would have put in, if they felt that Galway's event didn't reach a standard, I would have put in maybe a 4 or 6 person management team in there. 4 probably would be more than enough to train them, retrain them, show them the way to address the issues they have. Because there's a lot of good guys up there, and the problem is, I feel, certainly because I was up there doing the tracking at the summer rally, there's a lot of good guys, but there's not enough of them. And each of those good guys and girls, actually, they're doing 6 or 8 things instead of doing 1 or 2, and they're just snowed under for lack of help, really.
Every club is.
Every club is, and just something we've campaigned, Terry, actually on the podcast for years. The day is coming. Like there's clubs all over the country, tarmac and national clubs, and all you keep hearing for them, and I just don't get it. I don't understand it, because I don't know who the hell they're doing it for. They'll always tell you, we're running maximum mileage. There's a great bonus to running maximum mileage. Whether it's for ego is probably the wrong word, but it's like I ran maximum mileage, which is I think around 250. Just keep in mind, and I've said it to several guys, nobody cares. Whether you run 240 kilometers or 250, nobody cares. nobody remembers, and nobody cares. We go up to Northern Ireland and we probably get a fraction of that. And did you ever hear anyone complaining there was anything wrong? Not at all. They had a great day's fun because it's an amateur day out. It's a day's fun, and you do want to get home to your family. It's a bit like the Cork Forest. I don't really want to be tramping around the rally car at 5:30 on a Sunday evening. I want to go home. So yeah, I would be all for. I would be all for.
It's funny you say that about Cork on Sunday because the day flew in for us. To have a service every 2 stages, like we were at the last loop and we weren't even ready for the cars coming back in at the end because the day flew in so quickly. So it's probably we were in service. You were out in the car. So would that explain it? You know, we were getting service. By the time we had the last car out, the first car was back in again. You know, it just seemed to be a constant.
You're there for work, whereas I'm there for a social aspect. I'm there for a social day. Social day was starting to get a bit tedious for finish up like. But to go back to your question about Galway, that's what I would have done with Galway. I would have just put a team in there to help them and help them fix their problems, because by banning somebody and throwing them out for a year, you come back then, and what would their first event be? A 2-day international again, back to where you started, with less experience and no training, and the problem is still not fixed. So, look, I hope they fix it between them. I hope they fix it between them. You would like to think there'll be some, someone will put on the big boy pants and stop playing like children and just give them a hand and get them back up and running again. Just put in 4 or 5 people to help them. The downside is, like, you look at the likes of the Cork 20 there, who went, as we know from the last show, went over and above. And once our show was over, I just done a proper calculation here with the calculator. I reckon them boys lost about €35,000. That's a voluntary club of 35 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all because of people pulling their injuries out. A lot of it, because had they known 3 weeks earlier, they could have pulled themselves and saved themselves a fortune.
Yeah. And look, I'm going to have to cut across now because I'm just conscious of time. We said we'd do an hour and we'll try to go over that. Graham Scallon has been back in touch. You said there's a few things with extra entries closed tomorrow. There's still in around 170 entries, 18 stages, 237 stage kilometres, only 238 road kilometres. Ceremony is start, action-packed weekend. Anyone looking for any info, tell them to get in contact. The one thing I did want to do was get to the class winners. Terry, I don't know if you have the forestry ones to hand, but I'll go down through Ulster first there, and apologies, I didn't actually get to the Car 21, such was I suppose just the way the program took on in life, and we just didn't get to it at the end. But obviously Adrian Fermot won. It was an interesting clip there, actually. Captain McCourt's response to, I don't know, was it Killian Duffy or Andy Walsh, but it was good. He says, congratulations to Callum Devine and Nola Sullivan. Nola Sullivan, lads, has won the Irish Tarmac Championship and the British Tarmac Championship within 12 odd months or whatever. So that's serious going. I think 10 years after Noel Senior won the modified as well, I've seen somewhere. So that's serious going. Just to go down through, and I had it here to hand, obviously Duncan Williams, who was taking the historics, didn't have a great run of it at the weekend. Eddie Doherty already wrapped up the modified, Jason Black and Carl Egan taking the win on the day. Darragh Donovan and Michael White, junior champions. But I wanted to go through the class winners. I ended up going over to an article there up on the website irishrallypod.com just to go down through further bits and bobs. Slight tangent. Kyle White and Sean Topping, BRC wise and stuff, like there's so many stuff that we could go into, but I'm just going to go through classes. RC4, Kyle White and Sean Topping. N2, Marshall Kennedy and Davy Young. N3, Patrick and James McEnany. N4, Gareth Easley, Simon Rogers. N5, Mickey Conlon, Donald Lennon. N6, Gareth Black, Connor Dunlop. N7, Jason Black, Carl Egan, Wayne Sisson, Further Davies. N8 and 9, then you had Jesus, a blank canvas here, I think, by the look of things. But H1, Harold Bunting and Desi Wilson. H2, Fabi McAleer, Steve Monahan, and H3, Trevor Wilson, Paul Mulholland. Terry, over to you for the forestry class winners.
So in the forestry classes, we have Jack Brennan and John McGrath in the Renault Clio took class 1. In class 2, we have Kane Caldwell and Liam Egan in their Ford Fiesta. We have no Class 3. Skipping on to Class 4, we have James Dunphy and Alan McCormick in their new Evo 9. Won that class. In Class 5, we have Ryan Caldwell and Arthur Cairns, and I was so delighted for Ryan at the end. I think it was down to 3 seconds was it
2.7 or 2.4?
2.7.
Yeah.
You should have seen the smile on his face at the end. And I have the onboard footage as well, which is brilliant. The boys were so delighted, and poor Aidan was worried right up to the end because it was so close and everybody wanted it so much. So it was great to see that. Skipping on now to Class 9, there is no 6, 7, or 8. Class 9, we have Frances Kelly and Charlotte Egan in the Ford Ka. Winners of Class 10 was Mike Garrahy and Irla McCarthy in their Mark II Escort. In Class 11F, we have Rory Maguire and Grace O'Brien in their Corsa, and they also got third top two-wheel drive as well, which was brilliant. We've got Class 11R, Eamon O'Connell and Paul Britton in a Mark II. We've got Class 12, Donald Connolly and Danny McLaughlin, who now I'll stand to be corrected on this, must have been the furthest away to travel at the weekend from the top of Donegal down to Mallow. That must have been one of the furthest travel competitors at the weekend. I thought I had a long run home afterwards. No, they beat me by a good hour to an hour and a half after I got home. Class 13, Hugh McQuaid and Declan Casey won in their Mark II Escort. Class 14, Mickey Conlon and Paul McPhillips. Mickey followed or was slightly ahead of yourself, Anthony, all the way down the road on Saturday night. Did the Ulster on the Friday and Saturday and had the car sent down afterwards and ready for Cork Forestry on the Sunday, so fair play to them. Then you have Class 15, James Lowry and Killian Cronin in the Impreza. Class 16, we've got Sean O'Shea and Jeremy O'Shea and the Honda Civic. Well done, lads. No Class 17 this time. Class 18, we have Michael McDade and Anthony O'Sullivan and in the RS 1800. Michael, as you know, would have been a regular in the Historic Championship on tarmac, and to come back to the gravel this time in the Escort was fantastic to see. No Class 19 this time. Class 20, Pete McCullough and Killian McCardle in the Evo 9. Class 21, Tommy Cronin and Derek Butler in their Toyota Ego. Tommy, isn't he junior champion this year? Or is it still decided on the Carrick points? Do we know?
Oh, don't know. Is that result resolved? Is it the junior? Did they resolve that the other night? Was there not was the junior results finalised there?
Well, according to this here, it's on the class results. So
that answers that.
So we'll go with what's on the results for now. And then we have classes 22 and what's this one here? No, sorry, that's it. Right up to class 21 is the full results. So well done to everybody involved.
Yep, sound for that. I was just checking the other article because I wanted to get my facts right with Kyle White because I know it was a tight enough affair heading into Ulster in terms of JBRC stuff. So yeah, we're correct on that one. That's up on the website there, lads. IrishRallyPod.com. There's a review from the JBRC point of view. There's an article on Aoife Raftery's weekend as well, and well done to herself and Ronan Comfort, and obviously Josh McErleen and James Fulton. Happy with proceedings there, I believe also. So lads, we will leave it at that. I thank you very much. There is a million and one other things we could have delved into. We might have another one before the year is out. Generally, these happen after tarmac rounds, but who knows? And it's possible. Plenty more to come anyway with the whole person with Tony Kelly. There's plenty of those interviews coming up very, very soon. And
you're going to do more, Kevin. Let's face it, you're going to do more. I'm not going to let you not do more. You're going to do more.
We might have one or two more in us. We'll see how it goes. But listen, Terry, Anthony, thanks a million.
Pressure.
And we give a shout out to PFD Travel, obviously SVS as well, Rally Connection, Tech and Tools, Hiravan, and Lions of Limerick. Over and out, folks. Thanks a million for joining us, and we'll chat to you again very, very soon indeed.
Night, everybody.